Hi guys, and welcome to the Urban Angel page. I'm still finding my way around it, but I just want to put a thought out and say thank you very much for all of the support that I've received over this last 48 hours in particular. Really thrilled and excited about the fact that I've gone from virtually no subscribers to now nearly 70. So this is now where the real work starts. I'm gaining an audience, and this is what this is about raising the profile of working with spirit, working with people's energy, and bringing things into play now where I help people, like-minded people that have got energy blockages, helping connect to people that think that they may be the only person that thinks in that way. The idea behind all of my work is to promote upliftment and take people towards self-empowerment. But it's not always been that easy for me. I have an overthinking mind and a very analytical mind, and the way of the spiritual pathway has not always been the easiest one for me. Very black and white in character. So I've needed my place to escape to. And where I escape to is the local woods. I take my dogs out for a walk around there. And for some reason, when I get in there and get in the energy and amongst the trees, I feel at peace. So the idea behind this connection here is to talk about my book, Graceful Thoughts, which I wrote myself. The origins of that came in from going to the spiritual church and getting up and having the courage to actually read readings for other people, that I'd sourced off the internet and things like that. And I thought one day I'd like to do some of my own stuff. So this is where the idea originated from. That then grew. And a friend of mine says, right, why don't you start writing articles for a forum? Which then again grew. And he said, well, if you put this all together, then I will put this into a book format. So all of you out there that say that you can't, or that's not my sort of thing, I'm an ordinary working guy, and this is case in point. So to help relax my mind, I just record my thoughts, get them written down, and I just see it as an exercise of head clearing. So when I wrote this particular story, this was just walking around Hartsome Park, which is very near to where I live, and just seeing a toothbrush underneath a park bench. And then I just let my thoughts free flow. So I give you, ladies and gentlemen, the toothbrush. My head is full with lots of thoughts, flashes of things that I want to write about. I'm fortunate enough to have two dogs that are a welcome distraction from this productive but relentless thought process. And during my trips out with them, I take myself to the local woods. And my walks are always inspiring. After a few minutes, my head will settle and thoughts will become sharper and more focused. Strategies are then formed to take the steps from theory to action, and meaningless stuff is cast aside. There is no focus on things that aren't working. I believe that spirit and the energies are with me continually, inspiring, guiding, and supporting me to write, entertain, help, and guide others. Also, I think that spirit keeps me on task because at times I am somewhat woolly-headed. If the focus is not where I should be, I'm guided to stop and be in the moment. While walking, I'll focus on a robin. I'll watch the water flowing and breathe. There are no worries at this moment. I'm now free. On the day that this article was conceived, I was nearing the end of my walk. And as I walked past a park bench, nothing unusual or stand out about it, just a bench with a little brass plaque, a tribute to someone who had no doubt spent time contemplating life while sitting on that bench and admiring the view. I was lost in my thoughts for a moment, and then I noticed something out of place under the seat. It was a toothbrush, white with pink stripes, the bristles well worn and not a cheap make either. Why was it there? The narrative in my head started to piece together a story. By its conclusion, I'd learnt a very valuable life lesson. I like this sort of outcome because Aesop's fables very much influence my writing style, a story describing a moral. Stay with me while I explain my thought processes. The toothbrush has the function of being an aid to clean one's teeth. But why would it be under a park bench and not in a cup holder in a bathroom? Why would something that is so well used and important to somebody just be discarded there? Here's my interpretation of the scene. The park bench is situated in front of a large clump of bushes. It could provide shelter if someone chose to sleep on that bench and use it as a bed for a night. This person could be somebody who has minimal possessions. Material things and comforts would likely be in short supply. I imagine for a moment how difficult it would be to sleep soundly with the elements hitting you hard. Also, people passed and the noise of the road running alongside would not help with finding rest. I shivered while thinking about the snatched moments of rest while waiting for the dawn of the new day. A strange feeling started to build around me and I began to see myself through another's eyes, and my thoughts began to reflect somebody else's values. I saw myself sitting on the bench. Or was it me? My thoughts wandered. I didn't have a lot to look forward to today, but I'm part of life. I reach into my carrier bag of meagre possessions and I find my toothbrush. It is well worn, but it's great because it's mine and it's high quality. My inner voice tells me one day all the work it has done will pay off, and my smile might encourage somebody to stop and say hello, or better still, offer me an opportunity to leave the bench. I tidy myself as much as my clothes will allow and I stand up and I walk away. Instantly, I snap back into my version of reality, remembering the person's thoughts as he left my energies. His ideas were simple: get through the day and survive. His thoughts were both enemy and friend, and his prized possession was a toothbrush. Inexpensive, but essential to him. He left it behind by accident or design, who knows? The point is something he treasured and necessary was left behind because he thought he was not in the now moment. In my work, perspective is essential. The point is, don't get lost in having things and the best of, because it can be lost in an instant. Victims of overthinking means we can lose sight of what is essential and leave the critical thing behind. Further examination of my thoughts posed another question. If the person sleeping on the park bench whose toothbrush was his prized possession visited my home, would he consider me a rich man or somebody to aspire to? I wonder if it provides insight into my struggles. If I'm stuck in a rut or my thinking process has stalled, something like this man's journey would be worthy of consideration. And should we consider each day's experience as a fragment or a piece of the whole life story? Today, I place immense value on material security, keeping the home secure. And the next priority is to consider ways to move to a home more practical for the family's needs. The man on the bench focuses on clean teeth and surviving. All is perspective. However, the question is this: how do we know that this man is unhappy? Would the loss of his toothbrush be catastrophic? I sometimes think a setback is worse than the reality. There would be no concern if a toothbrush needed replacement, although to the stranger, it could be a severe setback. I often get lost in thought, and like most people, I desire to be successful. But how do you define success? My definition of success will differ from yours, yet mine will be most relevant in my way of thinking. But does it align with my reality? Is my thinking flawed? My realigned way of describing success is this: success as a healthy level of self-respect, a loving family, to share my thoughts and feelings, ample food, and maybe a cup for my toothbrush. So in closing, the thoughts go out to the homeless people in the world and the Australians affected by the fires when I wrote this chapter. Watching other people's plights is humbling and helps me realise just how lucky I am. And maybe, just maybe, I'm already a success. As always with these words, they're my thoughts. So many thanks for taking the time out to listen. And one last thing, don't forget your toothbrush. So they were my thoughts and my aspirations at the time that I wrote that, at the time of such a horrible plight for people. around the Australian bushfires a couple of years ago. So now, as I come to the end of this broadcast, I've just got the thoughts there of what we deem as what we're not good enough at. In somebody else's perspective, we've got everything, when they be striving out for the thing that we're looking at as we're not quite good enough to aspire to where we want to be. So thought-provoking, that's the idea behind it. Agree with me or disagree, but that's my version of the toothbrush. And I thank you very much for taking that time out to listen. And what we will say is Graceful Thoughts is available from me, another 16 or so short stories like that, available from me for £7 plus £2 postage and packing. Thank you very much for listening. And as I say, I hope there's lots more of this to come. Bless you all for taking time out and spending your life's hours to spend a few minutes with me. Thank you very much.